Makes me good. Meredith and I have known each other a long time. Better than 20 years now?
Yeah.
So we tend to speak to each other in shorthand. I came and gave a talk once, The Face of Jesus in the History of Art. I've been doing it since I was like 19. She invited me over here to do it, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I told them every time I give one of these talks. I have nothing for sale. If I get done and you don't agree with me, good for you. Right? I'm going to bring you some definite facts. When I say this is 8 feet tall and 6 feet wide, I want you to know I've checked and I'm right. But most of what I'm going to tell you is my opinions. And I'm married, so I know they're frequently wrong. Right? So if you have better information, if you have something to add, if you have something to take away, or you want to correct me, I get nervous when I lecture, but I'm very comfortable if we're having a conversation. We don't have to rate. Speaking up, I'm sorry, we're supposed to use my voice, which I've been trained to do, but forget. Use your voice, speak right up. We don't have to raise our hand, we don't have to wait for a break. I'd like to talk to you about what's happening. After doing The Face of Jesus in the History of Art, Meredith called me and said, will you do angels and stuff in art? Right? So today I bring you angels and stuff in art. And I was always told to open with a joke, so what does an angel say in a pastry shop? Do not be afraid, right? All right, that's going to work for us. The problem with discussing something like angels and art, I was always told you can't define art. And to that I say, hogwash, I can define art. Art is the use of line, shape, motion, color, light, and dark to evoke an emotional or intellectual response. Now, can you define an angel? That's a whole lot harder, isn't it? Yes. I've always been told art is abstract, but I started trying to find out exactly what an angel is so we can get to this precisely. And it turns out it's really hard to nail down what an angel is. In modern world, we have a show where Michael Landon was an angel.
Okay. What an angel is, or what an angel looks like.
This is the difficulty. To find out what an angel looks like, we have to try to figure out what an angel is. And we're going to cross at least two cultures today. Angels, in my opinion, are messengers or enforcers from a superior being. This is the definition I'm going with here. And strangely enough, this is our oldest angel we can point to in art. Does anybody recognize either one of these people? No, they're just brown stains, right? What we have to go through is what we've been told. This is the Annunciation in the cemetery of St. Priscilla in Rome. This piece actually has a title that is 107 words long, but I only love you all like 104 words long. So this is the Annunciation in St. Priscilla in Rome. It's in the cemetery. What we know here is the guy on my side is the angel. And we know he's speaking, because at the time in art, whoever had their hand in the air was speaking, right? I don't know if you've noticed how many paintings of Jesus. He's showing you his palm and the back of his hand, and that's the indicator that he is the speaker. Or actually, in the case of Christ, the voice, not the TV show. Big capital the, capital voice, right?
Should we turn down lights? Can you guys see the screen?
Can we see this okay? Anybody have any issues with it? Good?
Not so good.
This and here, this is Gabriel. We can tell he's speaking because his hand up, and we can tell it's Gabriel because we have the notes from the people who built this place, even though we can no longer see the image, right? And who's on the throne who he's speaking to?
Mary.
Mary. Wow, that one was tough for me, getting through that Mary was on a throne, right? It's not how I think about it. Of course, we're talking about an allegory here, right? So what we have is Gabriel raising his hand, telling Mary, guess what? Surprise, you're pregnant. Now, there were a few more words than that, right? He got it right. But the iconography here, you notice we're in three circles. Why three?
Trinity.
Trinity. We've got our Trinity, right? And it comes down, beyond this, we can get into the math of this and why it's as wide as it is. Our central circle there is almost a meter wide, right? I'd love to be able to get in to see this one. They turn on the lights in this room every couple of years when someone getting their PhD in art history comes by. It's almost enough to make me get my PhD. Ma'am, did you have something you wanted to say? Okay, I couldn't tell if you were swatting flies or trying to get my attention. I'm down for either one. So our first image in art that we can find that we know is supposed to be an angel is a messenger. It's Gabriel coming with the good news, right? But it gets a little wonky from here. Americans, especially Americans, ma'am,
Is there a year?
we don't have the exact year.
Approximate?
Approximately 460 to 532 is the approximation, right?
That long?
We're that long ago, and we're right after people are starting to gather up a gospel and put it together and say there is one book that is the Bible, right? Those of us know?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
I mean, icons, there are icons that are older than that.
Oh, there are icons that are older than this. I'm saying this is right after we're putting together a
Right.
book that's getting formalized and printed, right?
Yeah.
There's
Angels.
worshipful art that's a whole lot older than this, right? This is our first, we know the angel and we know it is an angel because we have winged beings that appear over and over again, and this is what we're about to get into.
I was just saying, icons have angels too, so,
This is a whole different game.
okay.
Let's try figuring out what we expect from an angel. Are we used to this one?
Cherubs.
Okay.
Right, who do we have here again? We have Mary again, right? And Mary's holding the baby Joseph, and this is done by a guy named Raphael, who you may be familiar with if you've studied the Renaissance and all, or if you're into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's an absolute breakthrough in how flesh is handled. Right here, as we go up Christ's torso, we see an incredible change in the chiaroscuro, the black to white of the flesh. This was as realistic as art could get at the time. He was trying to present at 8 feet tall and 6 feet wide the glory of this event where the Virgin has the baby. Yes? And as the Western world and as Americans, we have taken this incredible thing and made it this.
Yes, we have.
This is what we remember. Two chubby little angels at the bottom. And we'll go back. You'll notice we've taken this, right? This is the equivalent of watching Seinfeld for 10 years and then getting excited over the end credits scene. Right? What we have decided is this is what angels look like. Now, I find it hard to believe that the walls of any particular cities were taken down by chubby 3-year-olds. Right? I also find it hard to believe that a chubby 3-year-old.
Have you met some chubby 3-year-olds?
I guess I forgot to mention, I've never had children, and I find it hard to believe a 3-year-old took down city walls, right?
I don't know, a lot of other destruction.
Did a 3-year-old walk up to Mary and tell her she was about to have a child? I don't think so. But what it turns out is if we're going to read the good book, we're going to get a lot of descriptions of what an angel can be. Would you know what if they walked up to you? You saw an angel, right? We almost all agree now they have wings, but Hebrews 13:2, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. And I don't work here, so I'm going to be political a moment. I'm just going to say the word political so everyone knows what I'm talking about. We're having a moment right now. Are we allowing strangers around? We forced some to come here, and we've invited others. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Now, this makes my job particularly difficult. If you don't know who an angel is, how do we talk about angels in the history of art? Every other person in one could be an angel. Every turtle could be, right? But we're going to go with what people try to present. Raphael, this is his last Madonna, and this is what we take out of it. If you went to any publicly funded university from 1960 to last year, this was on at least 3 girls' walls. Right above the Nikes, everybody had this on their wall, and I'm not sure what people get from it. I like my angel in a white robe with a sword, with some flames and big wings that look like they were ripped off a white pigeon, right? But we all get our own opinions of where it comes from. But we have decided, especially as Americans, that angels deserve wings. As a matter of fact, every time the bell rings, an angel gets his wings, right? We're used to this. We've been told this by media and by movies over and over again. big robe wings. That's why I like it when they're wearing something else. But if we'll actually look in the Bible, we're going to find that there are 9 descriptors of types of angels. We have angels. This is what we're all used to. This is usually a good-looking person in a robe who happens to have wings on their back. If you'd like to have a really interesting and nerdy afternoon, you can go look up one of the mini articles online about how big wings would have to be to lift a human being. And then they do the physics and the force, which seems kind of silly to me when we're talking about someone who can do anything they want. Who cares how big wings have to be if we're dealing with omnipotent beings, right? But this is what most of us get stuck with. We also have archangels, right? And we tend to think of these guys as city destroyers. But I'm going to bring your attention up here to thrones. This is a ball of 1,000 eyeballs. Right? This is just as valid as any other view. The difference being nobody wants to get a Christmas card with 1,000 eyeballs on it that says, you know, it's one of those Christian holidays and I was thinking of you when this terrifying monster came to mind, right? We have the powers, the dominions, cherubim. Now, most people want to go back and call the things at the bottom of Raphael's painting a cherub. But according to the Bible, cherubim have 6 wings. 2 cover the angel's feet. Now, I tried to look this one up, and it's hard. It seems there were a lot of rules about appearing with bare feet in public, and that may be where this approbation comes from. We don't show our bare feet. 2 of the angel's wings would normally cover their hands, and 2 of their wings would cover their face, so they could take off flying. Seems a little like distracted driving to me, but that's okay. Occasionally they're brought up to also have either a lion, a goat, or an eagle or falcon, or all 3 coming out of their back, which will make us understand why the first thing so many angels say when they show up is, don't be afraid, right? Nobody's afraid of this person. This guy's got a sword, we're only a little bit afraid. But you'll notice some of these others are just absolutely horrifying. The principalities over here, I believe, is actually holding body organs. Right? She was free to just take people apart. Way up here, seraphim is just wings on an eyeball. Right? So if we're going to get away from art with a capital A, art with important brooding people who wear turtlenecks and drink too much coffee, we've got to accept that a biblical angel would frequently look a lot like this. If an eyeball, ringed by eyeballs, that's about 100 times as tall as a human being shows up, my money says most people would be turned into believers real quick. Possibly people who need no underwear at the same time.
Is this where the blue eye from Greek or from
The evil eye.
Turkish blue eye comes?
So the eye comes in strangely. The eye fits into art and almost every mythology ever. We are watching, however, a lot of old mythologies said the eye wasn't so much we were being watched, it's how the world was taken in. We believed, until pretty recently in history, that rays came out of our eyeballs and bounced off of you, bump, and came back to me, and that's how I saw things. We didn't understand light comes from somewhere else, bounces off of her and comes to me. We thought we were projecting something out of our eyes. So the eye comes up over and over again. And blue-eyed people tend to be very rare. As a matter of fact, all blue-eyed people share a single mother from about 16,000 years ago. Every blue-eyed person you've ever met can trace their way back to one single woman and her chromosome. I don't know if it fits together with this.
But they're also good luck.
If somebody else gives it to you. You can't buy your own.
It goes multiple ways. In some cultures, watching is sinful. In some cultures, not watching is sinful. In mythology, the hero consistently across cultures must not look. And also, he always cheats and looks, right? And you turn back and look at Lot's wife, turns back and looks and becomes a block of salt, right? All kinds of people have gotten in trouble for looking frequently at a woman, right? It's where our eyes fall, right? Men get in trouble for looking. The history of mythology is the history of men being poked with a stick and getting in trouble for looking at women while they change. You can pretty much, there's some bolts. Other than that, that's where it goes. Now I want you to stay with me here. Above him stood the seraphim. This is directly from the Bible. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had human likeness, but each had 4 faces. Because when I think of human likeness, I think 4 faces. Each of them had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of a calf's foot. And they sparkled, my wife claims she does too, like burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands, and the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another. There are, as far as I can tell, about 60 descriptions of angels in the Bible, and there are very few of them which are going to go back to our handsome folks standing around staring at you, right? But what's really weird is this deal of a person with wings who has something important to say is distinctly not just Christian. If we will look around a little bit, we're going to find some defiance of all of this. Does anybody know this guy? This is the conversion of Saul. Anybody know this story?
Yeah.
You better know this story by now. She'll start telling you this story every day if you don't. But this is Michelangelo's version. And we got a bunch of angels in this painting. What you're going to notice is a distinct difference. Saul's down here getting changed. Jesus is up here throwing a bolt of become a good guy at him. And Jesus is surrounded by angels. Now, it seems to me odd, it took me a while to wrap my head around this. Why is Jesus surrounded by angels? Michelangelo will tell us they're protecting him. There's a guy named Jason Momoa. Anybody familiar with this guy? He's in the movies a lot now. He's 6'4", 6'5", got arms the size of my legs, real long dreadlocks, powerful build. And they always show him out in public with 6 bodyguards, and his bodyguards are like this tall in front of him. And I always wonder, what's that guy gonna do, right? What do you do when you're protecting an omnipotent God? What are you protecting him from? He's a God. And it becomes obvious that what Michelangelo is doing is he's not protecting the people around from Jesus, and he's not protecting from Jesus from an attack. He's not protecting him from anything physical that affect him. They're keeping him from being exposed to, if you'll excuse the phrase, filth like us, right? He is pure. They're not protecting him physically. This isn't a bodyguard. This is someone who's keeping the ick of being around us away from Jesus himself. And we'll also notice not one of these angels has wings. Because once again, what does an omnipotent person need wings for to make someone fly? Right? I mean, if you can do whatever you want, if you can do miracles, why do we need wings to fly? That's a bird thing. That's a trick of physics, and we're not talking about physics. I can't include the bottom of this here and get it all in at once. What entertains me most is the moment that Saul is exposed to the wisdom of Jesus, he became an old man for a moment. There are no less than 40 paintings of exactly this, where Saul is represented as a very aged man, as long as the light of God is on him. It seems that a lot of people believe that God saw us at our moment of death, from the moment we were born, especially during the Renaissance. So anybody who was exposed to, when you get that, the beam comes down, you know, the one on the front of the what do they call the thing they hand out when you walk into the bulletin? Thank you. I'm getting older. Give me a break. The thing on the front of the bulletin has the little God sunbeams coming down. A lot of people in the Renaissance who were in the old God sunbeam, they look very old, because the theory was God always sees you at the moment you die. You're just a death to him. This is a moment in time, right? But he sends these angels along. Not one of them has wings. Most of them are not dressed, and if you can look at it closely enough, and I recommend looking it up, there are great scans of this one online, nearly every one of the angels is making a different face. Some of them seem thrilled to be here, but most of them seem to be a bit horrified. They have the face of a mother who's just walked in a 13-year-old boy's bedroom after being out of town for a week, right? What happened in here, and why are there microwave dinners under your sheets? It's kind of stunning, but He's the best. We're going to come back to Michelangelo again in a minute because, boy, he was just really good at what he did. And I'm just overly impressed. Now, the problem with thinking we're the only people who do this is that the Japanese are going to come along with a tenshi. Here we have a winged figure done in ink, playing a flute, flying along. And in Buddhism, especially the Zen Buddhism that made it to Japan, the tenshi is a heavenly messenger. Now, there's not omnipotence here. Buddhism does not have an omnipotent God who sends message. But when you're on the edge of figuring it out, a tenshi could come down and give you that little hint that gets you over the edge. You're standing around and you say, man, what is that little piece of paper they give you as you walk into the chapel? And the tenshi would go, psst, it's a bulletin. And you'd be able to go on from there, right? It was just a little hint. Always a messenger. In every non-Christian culture that has winged mythological creatures in it, they're just a messenger. The distinction in Christian angels is that Christian angels come down and boot the buttocks real hard every time it's required, right? If there's something that needs solved, city walls that need brought down, somebody needs slaughtered, they're there to do that too. Whereas the angels, the delivery, the messengers of other cultures don't do that. Yes, ma'am?
The god with the wings on his heels, and I can't come up with the name. Mars.
Ares.
Ares, yes.
The destroyer, the guarder of the underworld.
And a messenger.
He is a messenger, yes, but I wouldn't call him an angel by any stretch.
No, but it's there.
It is there. There are wings there. There are wings that are showing up all over the place. Who's FTD?
Oh, Hermes.
Hermes. Hermes does it well. There's several others. But I think what we're doing is we're mixing in wings there and trying to make that angels. Whereas, right, angels are most often seen as a messenger or a harbinger of doom. Nobody sent Mars. Mars is an entity. He doesn't get sent places.
Right.
Does that make a sense for distinction?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a confusing one to me. It's one I had trouble making a distinction on to make sure I was moving the right direction. And still, I'm not sure I did, right? It can all be a little confusing. We've also come to understand, sorry?
The very word angel means messenger.
Right, but we get this, right?
Depends on what the message is.
Right, right. And words change, right? Words change a whole lot. It makes it very confusing, especially in English. English is a utilitarian language. If you get your point across, it's done. The word set has 48 major definitions, right? In English, schadenfreude's a word. Some languages borrow words from other languages. English follows other languages down dark alleyways, beats them up, and rifles their pockets for vocabulary. Right? I mean, I'm stunned.
And then misspells it.
And then frequently misspells it. We leave all the dashes and doohickeys off. This is an unknown author, or unknown artist, but I think it's what a large part of us have come to expect from angels. This is our guardian angel, right? What we have is someone who's absolutely adorable, usually characteristically beautiful, a natural beauty that we would all agree, always in ultra clean clothes, and usually guarding a woman or a child. Anybody who's ever had to watch a child for an afternoon knows that nobody's ever stayed quiet while watching a child for the afternoon. But this guardianship leaves our messenger, right? It's something that's uniquely post-1700. It's frankly post-1760 that we all of a sudden believe that angels are guarding us every hour of every day. But it's become such a major aspect that we forget that the wings are blood red, which was usually an indicator of someone who was willing to do great violence in Renaissance art, right? There would be a tint of red in the highlights or a tint of red at the edge of the shadow. And what we knew was blood was to come or had recently come. This is just bright red, right? But we've gotten very la-ti-da. This is beyond don't be afraid. This is assume I'm always there. And I'm really not sure there's anything biblical that will stand for this.
Tobit.
Pardon?
From Tobit and the Apocrypha.
There
So
are-
our Catholic Bibles have it, but the Protestant ones don't.
There are several phrases that talk about being guarded, but I think you have to read them standing on your left foot with your right eye closed in order to believe there's a guardian angel watching out for you. Not that your existence is guarded over by a superior being and there's an angel being missing. He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. I believe this is a metaphor. I believe he's saying you're going to be okay, and I'm guaranteeing it. I don't think somebody's following me around, keeping my truck going into a ditch. And again, if you disagree with me, great, let me know.
Talking about
Right? I don't have a problem with it. I hope you can
Talking
convince me
about the
you're right,
Messiah.
so I have a better opinion.
Alluding to the Messiah, though, not everybody.
Yes, ma'am?
No, we're kibitzing back here, forgive us. This is, like in most churches, the back row usually is the one that talks the most.
I just thought I may have missed something, brother. You know
No,
I'm
we
not
were just
forgiving.
saying that he was alluding to the Messiah, not everybody.
Uh-huh. Yes, ma'am. I'm just saying where people have taken these words to try and draw inspiration of a guardian angel.
Yeah, but that's a long draw.
Yes, I think a lot of it is, ma'am. Bernaho Bartolome. This one's kind of hard to see. This is Michael. We've all heard of Michael, right? You'll notice we've got this stunning armor, some of the most realistic jewels you'll ever see. If you get up close and look at them, you'd think you could peel them off the canvas. Normally, through history, if someone is combined with an animal, they're the bad guy. Nobody ever thinks that the Minotaur is a good guy, right? Nobody ever thinks of Pan, the guy who's got the goat legs but the upper body of a man. What we've done is taken an animal part and attached it to a person and ended up with a good guy. So we have to make the bad guy even worse. And if we'll look down at the bottom, we have the devil being defeated. And not, unlike some people would represent him, he said to his friend Meredith, as a bright red guy with a tail and horns, because she gives a sermon every year with a bright red tail and horns and carries around a pitchfork, and it's absolutely fantastic. But as what this artist's nightmare was. And strangely enough, here we have a Christian angel beating up a Christian version of the devil, painted by a Jew in a Muslim country.
Can't get better.
Yeah, you can't get paid more, that's for certain. He did very well by himself presenting this subject over and over again. It's worth looking up just for the details in the monster's face, right? But we're once again, whether we believe an angel is watching us when we're going down the path or driving our car, or we believe they are up in heaven, we are once again being protected. And Michael comes up again. It's just Michael and Gabriel everywhere you look when you look into art, right? It's kind of stunning to me, but it's an amazing painting. This one is almost 12 feet tall. But we're going to come back to what we're used to seeing. And here we have Michelangelo again. This is what most people drew their idea of what an angel was for about 3 centuries. This one's right there in Rome. He's matched by a female on the other side, and it came up with one of the most iconic, I'm going to get my paper again because I don't want to get it wrong, one of the most iconic lines ever in art. St. Michael Triumphs. And I like to give her things to do. I like to pick on her. I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. Now the problem is, our boy's given credit for saying this for no different than 3 different sculptures he did.
David.
Pardon me?
David as well.
David as well. There's several apocrypha. One of my favorite is we can show that while David was being carved, Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were in the same city at the same time. And Leonardo da Vinci liked to hang out with very young, handsome men and liked to wear velvet robes. And Michelangelo had a special assistant who would take his hand off the hammer after he'd been carving for 30 hours and couldn't unbend it anymore. Who would bind his wounds from hammering for 30 hours on end. Who would make him rest. And theoretically, wearing nothing but a boiled leather apron and looking like a Soloflex commercial, one evening, late in the evening, Michelangelo stopped on David and stepped out into the road to cool off, steam rising off his heavily muscled form. When Leonardo da Vinci, his band of followers came up the road, returning from a party. And Leonardo, in his velvet robes, looked to the young men who traveled with him and says, "Look before us, the ape from which we rise." Now, he wasn't into evolution and he hadn't met Darwin. None of that had happened yet. He was just mocking Michelangelo for being a base physical human being. So Michelangelo reached back, threw his hammer over Da Vinci's crowd, and 3 more blocks till it landed.
Oh my.
And for the next 9 months, while Da Vinci was in town, he walked 14 blocks to not have to walk by Michelangelo's studio again. Right? Don't mess with the guy who looks like a Soloflex commercial. He's going to whoop you, right? But here we have him cranking it out again. Michael, is it not? And we just did Michael. Theoretically, this is Michael, and we're going to do Michael again, if you don't mind. Because he is seen in some traditions as the arbiter of souls. So here we have the absolute end times. Notice our little sinners are scurrying to get away, yes? In either direction. And sitting over top, in judgment, is Jesus. I know Jesus looks a little bit like a 70s heavy metal star in this one, right? I mean, he looks like Ronnie James Dio, but that's what was happening at this time. And down below him, holding a scale, is Michael. Now, a lot of people in our history circles point out that Michael is judging people on whether or not they get into heaven. But I'd like you to look at the scale in Michael's hand. See how it's tilting? Mm-hmm. See how it's tilting to exactly the same level that Jesus' hands are on the backwards? Mm-hmm. Right? The man who painted this is going to tell you that Jesus is moving that scale. Michael's just a convenient way to hold the scale up. Michael could be replaced by a coat, right? What we need is the divine power going on up here to fuel what's going on down here. But we are talking about angels in art, so let's zoom in on him. Have you ever seen such an awkward-looking man in your entire life? I'm not sure at any point in the past 600 years somebody looked up and said, I don't know, I'm looking for a man whose eyes are really high in his forehead, who has really big cheeks and looks kind of dope, right? But we'll notice that he's heavily armed, and we'll notice that he is weighing souls to see who will be allowed into the kingdom of heaven. I feel like I need to bring the screen back to you, ma'am. What's your name, ma'am? Yes, you, ma'am.
Allison.
Allison. Every time I look up, Allison's going. Allison looks like she got a seat on the 50-yard line and somebody's not doing the play right. We're going to move next to one of my favorites. Anybody recognize this guy? This is Jacob, actually
Oh, wrestling.
wrestling. Right. Except you see it with not nearly as much amazement I do. Wrestling an angel. Because when I see one of God's personal messengers, what I think is, man, I can take that guy. Right? You got to wonder how much Jacob had to drink. He sends his family across the river. And while they wait for him, an angel appears. And without explanation, we're told they wrestled until morning. Now, this was at a time when wrestling was a standard thing for men to do. You had leg wrestling, hand wrestling. People thumped, believe it or not, we have records of thumb wrestling that are older than Greece, right? But Jacob decides to take him on. I'm on the wrong page, and I apologize.
He actually
Don't
wins.
mind. Vision after the sermon. Here we go. He took them and sent them over the river, and he sent over that which was his family and his luggage. We're not told why he didn't go over. Jacob was left to his lonesome. A man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. He saw that he was powerless against him. He struck the socket of his thigh, and the socket of Jacob's thigh was dislocated in his struggle with him. He said, "Release me, for dawn is broken." He said, "I will not release you, except if you bless me." I mean, you want to go with the rest of it? You go. I love it when you start a quote and somebody knows it, right? It makes you feel like we're getting somewhere. He said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." He said, "Jacob will not be said as your name anymore, but Israel, for you struggled with God and with men, and you were capable." And Jacob asked and said, "Now, reveal your name." And he said, "Why is it you ask for my name?" Jacob then went on to name where he was Peniel, right? But I think what this delivers to us is, despite what the Bible says about angels, we tend to have our own opinions. And some of us are using angels as a halfway point to meet God. Some of us are using this as a way to thin down God. Same subject, this time by Gauguin. Here we have the Holy of Holies. We have a group of nuns gathered in Tahiti being drawn by a man who sold everything, including his law practice, so he could go to Tahiti and have sex with underage girls without getting in trouble, presenting us the story of Jacob and the angel wrestling. Strangely enough, on a field of red.
I look at them and they almost look like Amish women.
There's a reason for that, right? The idea behind both wardrobes is to be as simple as possible, right? I used to live up amongst the Amish in Ohio,
Yep.
and one of them would always say to me, you're doing well, but still with the zippers, right? Because zippers were just too fancy, right? Still with the zippers was the line he always gave me, which I gave him a lot of respect for. The way I met the Amish folk and got them to trust me was we were all at auction one day. And I walked up to look at a group of tools, and there were 5 Amish men standing around, and one of them said, "Jenny there's got a good rump on her." And I stopped, and my mouth must have fallen open to my waist before I realized that Jenny is the name for a female mule. And he was talking about the female mule about 10 yards from me. But he looked up, and my mouth was wide open, and they, no. And an explanation started forth that ended up being a long friendship. We present angels in art, I think, sometimes to try and make ourselves feel a little closer to God. We make the angels very human, and by doing so, that takes us up a step. I think there's some people, I think this guy is one of them, who thought a little too much of himself, so they used angels as a way to bring God down to earth. But either way, it's like a jigsaw puzzle piece. We're given a little bit of information, not much at all. We're given scant statements when you put it all together in the Bible about what an angel is. But in each century, we have found what we need to improve our relationship with our belief in God. And we tuck it all in behind. We've taken Michael Landon running around talking about, was it touched by? There was a touched by an angel.
No, Michael Landon was,
No, that was Highway to Heaven.
Highway to Heaven. I went to look so I could talk to you all about it, and I said, what are the most popular TV shows that were about angels? And I got a list of the 64 most popular, which tells me there are quite a few out there. Everybody in fiction does the same thing everybody in art does. We're not so much worried about delivering the truth as delivering something that lets you find your truth.
It's palatable.
I hope your truth does not have bat wings. I hope your truth is not big eye guy, because we'll roll back through here. We're going to see we're in a lot of trouble if this guy shows up. Do not be afraid, right? Right? I'm not even sure how some of these guys are supposed to work. And I'm not sure they are anything but lessons with a little bit of description, right? But we have become fascinated. We talk about Mary, we talk about Jesus, but every day, if you go out and look, I think you will find there are more depictions of angels about us in society than there are of Jesus himself. We have trouble, most of us, putting together an image of God, right? As a matter of fact, the most famous image we have is God. Does anybody know where we reach out?
Michelangelo's Creation of Adam.
Michelangelo's Creation of Adam.
Sistine
If we look
Chapel.
and we know our anatomy, there's a little tiny muscle right there. You see that little flex going on? And that's because in it, God's finger is reaching as hard as it can. And if you'll go back and look again, Adam's is relaxed. The lesson for us, supposedly passed on to us, is that God's always reaching out. It's your turn. It's your turn. You have to take the next step. And in Michelangelo's version, you don't even have to take a step. You gotta lift your finger. Just gotta lift your finger a little bit, right? And I think angels do the same thing for us. They make us feel like we're just, well, not this guy, but just a little closer, as long as we're not dealing with this scary guy. I find it very unusual this one has graffiti on it. Not really sure who was bold enough to go and paint on him, but there we go. We rely on an intermediary anytime we get anything bigger than us. If we are Ishmael and God is the whale, the ship is the angel. It lets us get there. It gives us a soft landing. It makes us feel a little either protected or that maybe something a little bigger and a little more vicious and a little more readily available is there for us. We'll notice that there is no longing for an angel in art, and there is no an angel was just here. It's always that they show up at the right time, at the right place, with the right job, and they always get it done. Whether we're telling Mary she's about to have a child or we're knocking down entire cities. You good?
You got like 70 more minutes.
I got 70 more minutes. I'm going to look up one for you then that I had to leave out. We talked about this a lot. It's hard to time out what's an hour. I narrowed it down and thought I've got it done. I think I've got an hour's presentation. And my wife came over and looked and she said, "You've got 68 slides there, Mark. You're going to be in trouble." What is unusual to me mostly about all of these put together is you'll notice only the Japanese one is female. We have added women as very recent. But the sweetest one I know of, assuming I can, I'm not connected to the internet. No idea how to deal with that.
Look for your internet connection and
It's off until
Community
1:30.
room? Not automatically, we
The
should.
internet.
It's
Yeah, that's its
2:15.
password.
Oh,
Password is acorn.
capital Acorn 9, just a second.
Let me look too.
So this is what happens when you leave your cell phone in your office. You don't have to look up the password.
Acorn 965,
Thank you. Capital Acorn.
capital A, one word, Acorn 965.
No spaces.
Yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Try to be helpful.
965?
Uh-huh.
And this has just been written down for posterity because we're recording this.
That's good.
That got us there, I believe. So even more recently, in our changes about guardian angels, comes our belief that women are often angels. We need some Google up in here. Starting about the 1700s, men started presenting specifically their daughters as angels.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know I misspelled that.
are there any black angels in this?
Ooh, ooh. See, I had trouble with this when we did the face of Jesus in art. We did the face of Jesus. I showed the earliest images we had, and then I moved up and showed that in Korea, they believe Jesus looks Korean. And in Ethiopia, they think he looks Ethiopian, right? Black artists have been making black angels since they've been allowed to create art, right? There are, in Addis Ababa, there are cave paintings of people who have wings on their back, who supposedly appeared to the locals. Now, this was an area where everyone was black until recently, right? So we know we have both contemporary and ancient images of black people as angels. But what we find is black people do black angels, white people do white angels, and have a nice day.
But the area where Christ was born is not white.
It's not by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, the lineage that comes, he was born of David, brings him up from Ethiopian Christians, which brings to mind the fact that Christ might very well have been a black man,
Right.
right? I know nothing of what was actually going on in the area, but we have taken 32 people who we can nail down were buried about the time Christ lived in the area. And what we'll find is that the Semitic peoples who were in the area had curly hair and darker skin. Now, at what point, when we move from Norway down to Germany, down to Italy, down to Libya, and down to the Sahara and below, at what point does darker skin and curlier hair become what Americans call black? Right? I don't know. I don't have an answer for this. It's a rainbow. It's a continuum, right? We vary in color. I'm sorry, yes ma'am?
My kindergarten children said there aren't any black, white, yellow, red. There's only skin. And that was, I thought, the best answer ever.
If we're going to look away from sickle cell anemia and various other factors, it is a great answer, right? But it's true
Well, there
that
are 5.
if you skin a person, there's no way outside of genetic testing to tell what race they are. My blood, your blood, your blood, your blood, your blood, with outside of types are compatible, right? A hair transplant from me to anybody in this room works, and from anybody in this room to me works, right? Race is a social construct. Race is a social construct. Poodles are dogs, Great Danes are dogs. We can't get past it. White people are people, black people are people, brown people are people. I can't believe we say some people are yellow. I've met them, they're not, right? But people are people, right? How much sunlight your ancestors got exposed to determines how light your hair and eyes and skin are. That's it. If your ancestors were exposed to more sunlight, your skin got a little darker, right? My people were up around Wales. We were praying for sunlight, not getting any, right? It was fog all day long, and I came out of it blue-eyed, pale, and if I go to the mail and it takes me too many steps to get there, I get a sunburn, right? I have friends who are from Southern Europe, and they can go stand out in the sun all day and they're fine. I have friends who are black and sunburn so fast it's ridiculous, which I can't wrap my head around with that much melanin, right? I don't believe in race. I believe it's just a descriptor we find convenient. I also find it amazing that the idea that white is dominant is largely spread by people who believe if a white person and a black person has a child, it's black. Well, then why is white so dominant? Right? If you mix it, it should be right, but if you, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. How you, in 1640 up through 15 or 16, in Mexico you were taxed based on what your grandparents were. There was a word which is looked down upon now today, please excuse me for using it, mulatto. And it meant you had a black parent and a white parent. However, if you had a black grandparent, the rest were white, you were quadroon. You were an econoom if 2 of them were Spanish, 1 of them was Native American, and 1 of them was black. They overall had 72 different descriptors, and you were taxed based on the skin tone of your grandparents. I just can't think of anything dumber in my entire life.
The most discrimination I found was in South Africa between black and brown.
I am stunned at the people I've known who are African American and want to date lighter or darker, and that's the first thing they take on. I don't know. I always waited until somebody gave me the oogie boogies in my stomach and then tried to find out I was still interested in it, right? If you want to go into it, the Mexicans have their own angels. They just don't consider them messengers, right? If you see a Mexican deity coming at you with wings on, run, baby. Run, baby. I don't know if any of you looked up Quetzalcoatl, but he's a 3 million mile long snake with wings. And he swallows the earth occasionally when he gets in a bad mood. And you all thought a 3-year-old could do damage, right?
Persian angels.
Persian, again, are we an angel? Because what does an angel do, right? In every story I can come up with for these angels, in every presentation, these are angels sent by God with information.
Okay, how about the angels in Genesis that mated with men, and then God had to destroy this whole business and start again?
I take Genesis as a nice story that we should learn from and not a factual representation of anything.
Well,
Because there
excuse
was,
me, I take the whole Bible that way.
Right.
But you're going through all of this, and I thought, how about that one?
because what we have is a descriptor of mated with men, and there's no art for me to show it that looks nice,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay.
Right? Yeah, there's the
Good
problem
answer.
right there. It's the,
Good answer.
yeah, it's, I'm into the art end of it, right?
Okay.
I'm not here to change your theology. I may
Good.
be here to reinforce your theology a little bit. I'd like you to think
Yeah,
about
talk to Pastor Olivier about that one.
while you're there, ask Pastor Olivier about the giants, and
Yeah, the giants are cool.
yeah, and how Cain and Abel took off and had kids.
Why not?
Well, because there weren't any other people. Even though we're told they went out to towns, right? Genesis is a confusing book. Let's be honest here real quickly. Who's read it? Right? Okay, I noticed 2 of our people who've read it have degrees from seminaries, right? What I'd like you to do is pop it open when you get a chance and read the first few pages. It's a great creation story.
fascinating.
And when that creation
It's
story is
great.
done, there's a different creation story right after it.
Yeah.
It happens in a different way and different things happen, and I don't think that's important at all, right? I've got a brother who can tell stories that you wouldn't believe, and he always stops when he gets to the most incredulous point. He says, I want you to believe me. I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
I'm making it better. Right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's what a lot of information right there with you, man, in the Bible does. It makes it better. It breaks it down so you can understand. I know that you may think you're bright. I know you may think you're experienced, but I want to tell me how you'd have a conversation with an omnipotent being who's older than time.
Wow.
If he's omnipotent, he can't be wrong, and he knows the future. So already knows everything you're going to say, right? How are you going to have a conversation? Spend a lot of time talking to the ants in your backyard? Right? We have had this discussion a million times. I don't understand penitent prayer. Dear Lord, make this happen. Wait a minute, he's older than time. He invented the concept of time, and he doesn't know what's supposed to happen next Tuesday? My money says the guy's on it. Right? I don't understand prayers outside of thy will be done.
Or thank you.
Thy will be done. It seems to me that's the whole prayer.
No, thank you is good.
Thank you's good. I think thy will be done is part of that, right?
It doesn't necessarily mean you like it.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, but I see your point, right? If we accept that his will is what is to be done, I think acceptance is the highest will. We have to accept where we are and accept where we're going. And that means accepting what we don't know. Now I'm getting off into theology real quick, which I tried to
Sorry.
do.
Which goes to the title of her least favorite book.
Yes.
Well, you know, if you want to get into the weird angels, open up Revelations.
There's your eyeball.
There's your eyeball.
There's your eyeballs, there's your dragons, there's your, right, dragons with 7 heads coming up. The first book and the
Flaming
last book.
double-edged sword coming out of the mouth.
Yeah, the first book and the last book are great stories to get us in a mood for something, in my opinion, right? I'm more big on the Gospels, and frankly, they disagree with each other, right? But I don't think they disagree in any big way. How many women found the rock missing from the tomb?
3.
In which book? That's Matthew. How many in Luke? 1. There's 3 in one book and 1 in another. Does this matter to you?
No.
Does this matter to you? Who cares what color Michael Jordan's sneakers were? He jumped in the air and put the ball in the hole, right? I don't care what color the sneakers were. I don't care how many people came to the... I think there's a lesson there outside of this. I think that's just details. And I think details get bodged up.
Even by eyewitnesses.
Eyewitnesses are possibly
Especially
the
by
worst.
eyewitnesses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a speech teacher in my college who at the second day of class, when telling us how unreliable our personal testimony could be, had a man walk in and shoot her 4 times and run out of the room with a mask on and a dark coat and dark pants. Now the idea was, after firing off 4 blanks, she'd get up and say, let's all write down what happened to show us how good eyewitness testimony isn't. And the man walked in, pulled out a gun and went bam, and my brother tackled him and started pummeling him. It's not what you're supposed to do with your grad students, it turns out. The guy's like, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. And my brother's like, you need pummeled, you've got a gun, right? They weren't allowed to do it after that anymore. You'll notice these things don't happen on campuses anymore now.
See, now in my school, it was, you didn't come in and shoot anybody. Somebody came in and threw a bucket of water on her.
This is, I'm older than you, it goes back further. Now, I've seen the ones, has anyone ever seen the gorilla video? It's a group of people dancing, and they tell you to pay attention and remember as much as you can.
Unknown caller.
And there's a guy in a gorilla suit who comes out and dances across the screen. And less than 1 in 100 people will notice the guy in the gorilla suit because they're trying to pay attention to people dancing. How many women were at the tomb is the same thing, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? It just, it doesn't seem important to me. It seems to me that there's a message. And that message gets repeated over and over again despite the details.
I haven't. I've had.
It's not the how, it's the why.
Yes, yes, it's an instruction book.
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't vary much in that way. We're given very strict orders.
I'm pretty sure I got them.
She and I have had multiple talks about the oven. Anybody here place their hand on an oven burner this week?
Somebody didn't do it.
Why not?
Took 'em-
Because we know better.
Because you know better. Wow. I got a book at home that's got instructions when I'm living at Bing.
what
Told me
wrong?
what to do. It seems to me if you really believe it, it should be pretty easy to color within the lines. Right? I mean, if you believe that, you gotta believe it as much as the
Yeah,
others,
no.
right?
What?
But we always seem to not know better.
Yeah, I came up
Now,
with
that's
that.
pretty standard. If only there was some messenger to come and talk to us.
After that, which was about
And yet,
1:30.
over the thousands of years, we have to keep learning the same lesson.
What?
Over and over again.
It's because
Maybe.
one of the spiritual gifts St. Paul did not mention was learning from other people's mistakes.
I think I took them.
And very few of us have that. Or our own.
Since you, what?
We're unique in a species that we can do that, and we're also unique in that we absolutely refuse to use that
She
yet.
didn't come over here. I took them before I left.
Mark Davis, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
I'll come right up here.